When I was in Australia 3 or 4 weeks ago now, maybe even 5 weeks ago, I'd walk down 2 blocks to Darling Harbour. And Sydney, Australia has a lot of harbors, and I think they said like 40 of them. And Darling Harbour is just one of the main ones, and I could walk down there and get on a water taxi and take a taxi to another part of the city and explore that part. And I preached Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday night. Tuesday I had off and preached Wednesday night. Well, Tuesday I went down to Darling Harbour and I spent $65 and for 4 hours took a boat out into the ocean and watched the whales jump. It was a blast. I mean, it was just something I've always wanted to do, you know, just to see the whales actually out there. It was just cool. And $65 for 4 hours, I thought it was great. And on the other side of me, there was 2 blocks, you go to Darling Harbour. On the other side, you walk 1 block and you're in Chinatown. So I asked the guy at the hotel, I said, if I went to Chinatown, where would I eat? And the guy told me his favorite restaurant. And so I went to Chinatown and walked down the streets, found that restaurant. And there's a lot of restaurants in Chinatown, and they have inside eating, and then they have outside on the street eating. They don't have cars going up and down that main street because there's just way too many people in Chinatown. And you can just sit there among all the people and just eat your food. And the first night I went over there to do that, the waiter came up to me and he said, "Yum Chow menu." I go, well, yeah, I think so. It's been a nice day. And he kind of looks at me, "Yum Chow our menu." And I go, Paul, my name's Paul. I go, "Do you happen to have a menu? And he looked at me like I'm an idiot. And he brought me a menu. So I'm sitting there picking out what I was to eat, and I ordered, and I noticed that nobody else was ordering off the menu. And I watched as this thing happened, and it'd be like these young ladies would come out with these huge trays of food and walk by people, and if you wanted something on the tray, well, then you'd point to it, and they'd give it to you, and then mark a little ticket on your table that you took a helping of that. So there was a young couple that was speaking English not too far from me, and of course everybody in Australia speaks English, but I mean, it was English that I actually could understand because there was more, maybe they'd been in America or something and, you know, didn't talk quite as precise or whatever. And so I said, I'm just curious, what are you doing? Everybody, no one's ordering off the menu but me. What are you doing? And the guy says, "Yum Chow." I said, "What is Yum Chow?" Because I think I've been offered it, but I didn't take it. And the guy said, "Oh, it's a blast." I said, "Well, what is it?" He said, "Well, the cook cooks whatever he wants. Just whatever he wants. And he sends it out here, and if you happen to want it, you take it. If you don't want it, you just let it go on by." Well, the next night I went for Yum Chow. It was a blast. It was fun. I mean, you might get your dessert first, and then you might get your main meal, and then maybe 20 minutes later, you even get some rice. You know, it was just a different way of eating. But there's a spiritual connection to that. And that spiritual connection is we become such a people that comes and says, "God, this is the way the order of the service has got to happen. This is the way the move of the Spirit has got to happen. And I am telling you what I want." That's what we've become. And God says, "You know something? I'm back here in the kitchen cooking whatever I want. And I'm going to send it out there. And you have to decide tonight, what do you want out of your life? Do you want to go through your life, keep telling God what you want? Or do you think God is a little bit wiser than you? And maybe if you would just accept what's on the tray that he brings out, you'd be a little better off." Come on. See, I believe that God wants us to accept what he has prepared for us. And I believe that what he has prepared for us is way better than what I could possibly order. Because we come in and we have an idea, you know, just like earlier when, you know, you think, well, words of knowledge are supposed to happen at the end of the service. Well, you tell me, is that better for a person to sit there and can't hear the service? and wait until the end of it? Is it better for somebody to be in pain until you get around to your little pleasant way of doing something and then you can pray for them? Or is it better just to simply do whatever God wants you to do? And I think it's better to simply do whatever God wants us to do. This person, and it happened right before I came up here last year, and so I might have shared part of this with you, but I was supposed to go to and preach at a church, and it was a church in Kansas, and it was a small church. It was at Leon, Kansas, and I mean, it's just a tiny little place, and dirt streets, and they had asked me to come up there, and then they had told me after I agreed to come up there that they had 8 people. And I thought, whoa, that's a big crowd. We're going to go have a great time. And I went up there, and they had agreed to get my hotel room, which is one of the things I always ask for is a hotel room. And they had agreed to do that. And so I went up there, and I drove by the church, and they hadn't mowed the lawn. It just looked like a piece of junk. And I mean, the church just looked terrible, in my opinion. And I just thought, man, alive. What am I doing here? And I went to the hotel where I was to stay, and the hotel room stunk. And it wasn't because of smoke. It just plumb stunk. The other day, me and my wife slept in a hotel together somewhere, and I told her, she came in the room, and I said, the beds have been slept in. And she goes, this is a hotel. And I said, no, you don't understand. When somebody who stays in hotels all the time says the beds have been slept in, it means they are worn out. But this room not only had a worn out bed, it stunk. It smelled bad. So I thought I'd go buy some Febreze, and I can remember going out and looking for some Febreze, and on the way I went by this nursery. It's a shame Pastor wasn't with me because he would have loved that. And my wife said she wanted to buy a couple trees, and I said, well, I'll stop and see if they have these trees. And I stopped at this place, and I said, do you have any just starter redbud trees? And the guy says, when I got out of the pickup, he said, what do you do? And I said, do you have any redbud trees? He said, I didn't ask you that. What do you do? And I said, sir, okay, I'll tell you what I do. So I told him what I did. And I know some of you have heard this before because I put it in my newsletter, and it was just amazing what God did. Well, the guy took me inside the house, and after I told him what I did, and his wife was kneeling there praying, and he said to her, tell this man what you're praying for. And this woman, she turned around and she looked at me, and she started telling me, she said, I've been praying that God has told me to help with orphans, but I don't know any orphans. I don't know anybody that works with orphans. The man said, okay, that's enough. Now you tell her what you do. And so I told her what I do. And just shared that my heart with her, and we just had revival, and I got ready to leave, and I said, by the way, do you have any redbud trees? And the guy says, well, he says, I put two by the back of your truck. And I went out to the back of my truck, and there 2 7-foot trees were. And I said, sir, I wanted 2 starters. Because, there's a difference in a price between a 2-foot tree and a 7-foot tree. I said, sir, I just wanted 2 starters. And he said, these are the 2 you're going to take. I said, fine, let me tell you, these won't fit in my truck because I have a 6-foot truck, the box. He says, I know you do, but you're going to open up the window. We're going to shove those trees up in there, and they can go up into the cab. I said, well, okay. Put them in there. I said, how much do I owe you? He said, nothing, not a dime. He said, God told me just to give you those 2 trees. Now I was on my way back to my stinky hotel room. It stunk. I don't care how much Febreze you sprayed.